Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Steve Duvall, and this is news on Sedona.biz. And today we have Mayor Rob Adams.
Please. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Mayor Adams. Pleasure to have you here. So we're going to talk today about elections and what's going on. The election is coming up in November, what they call the midterm elections and the national elections. And the Sedona elections are happening in November happening this year in November. So how is that? We used to do it in March?
Well, the state legislature consolidated all elections, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but what they decided to do with all elections, state elections and federal elections and local elections, are all going to be held in even years. So what that did was that actually added 6 months to all of our terms that are already in office.
It added 6 months. It didn't subtract.
6 months, right.
Okay, so there'll be some members who've been here 4 years and 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Normally my term would be over in May of this year, and now it looks like it's going to be January of 2015. However, the primary will be in August, and then the general will be in November.
Okay. So what offices are up for re-election coming up in November of 2014?
Well, there's 3 city council seats and the mayor's seat.
4 seats.
4 seats.
4 seats. That's a majority.
It is.
It could be a majority anyhow.
Yeah, it could.
Could go one way, could go the other. And
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but there's 4 seats up.
you got it. We have to trust in the,
I mean, that's 4 votes,
Right.
which would be a majority.
Yeah. We'd have to trust in the democratic process of elections to provide a balanced city council.
That depends on who runs, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of who's running, any idea who's running for re-election or anything coming up?
I can't say, Steve. I've heard some things, but until people make their own announcements, I'm not going to speculate.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Mayor Adams is not running for re-election.
I am not running for re-election.
Wow.
Right. I've served
Okay.
3 terms, and so I've decided to step back and not run for a 4th.
Well, that's a long time. And that's a major life decision.
Well, yeah and no. Do you remember what my slogan was for my first election?
God, I can't remember what I had for breakfast
come on,
today.
Steve, I'm kind of heartbroken. I spent a lot of money on that. It's time for a change. And at that time, what I meant by it's a time for a change was I was saying that I wanted to step in and be a full-time mayor and devote my full attention to the job, which had never been done before. All the mayors previous to me really pretty much served in a part-time capacity. And that's understandable since the pay is minimal. It's basically a stipend. And so I just said I'm gonna devote 100% of my effort toward this, and that was what I wanted to do. The other thing that I was saying is that I didn't want to come in as a Democrat or Republican or an environmentalist or a business person or aligned with any group or agenda. I wanted to stay neutral on all issues and basically base my votes on what I perceived as the will of the people. So that's what I've tried to do.
You have been working very hard, and you've really established the presence of the mayor as the mayor of Sedona, not only in the Verde Valley, but also in statewide. So you've really done a lot of work in that arena.
Yeah, and I would say one of the advantages of serving for more than one term is that longevity allows you to do some of the things that I've done, and that's get into some executive positions on a state level. I serve on the executive board for the Arizona League of Cities and Towns, which is a real privilege, and it also raises the profile of Sedona and gives us a voice on the state level. And then at the beginning of this year, I was elected as chairperson of the Greater Arizona Mayors Association. And so I play on a local, regional, and state level, and I couldn't do that if I just served one term. You just can't get into those positions.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. So what's next for Rob? What's next for Rob?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of going I'm staying with the theme, stepping out as it's time for a change. And it is time for a change for me. A lot of people, when they're in politics, they get kind of stuck in office, and even if they do decide to step out, they play kind of coy until the last minute. And I wanted to announce early so that anybody that is interested in running wouldn't be impeded or be influenced in any way by what my decision is. My decision is I'm going to leave the office, and I encourage people to step up. What I hope to do, I'm in my mid-60s, and so is my wife, and I hope to spend more time with my wife and really enjoy maybe what is probably the last quarter of my life and focus on that. I have spent 20 years in heavy-duty public service. Ever since I arrived in the Verde Valley, I've been serving on boards and commissions and committees, and I've done it because it's been fulfilling to me. And I would just like to step back from that and enjoy more time to myself and with my wife.
I was going through some archives yesterday, and I came across a promo that I did of you running for mayor in 2008.
Yeah.
And your hair was not quite as white.
Yeah.
You had a little color in your mustache.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that 5 years has taken its toll.
Well, I don't know if it's taken its toll. It's just a natural thing that happens when you age.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. My
Fortunately,
goodness.
I have some hair left.
Yeah.
There's some stress that's associated with the
Of
job.
course, of course.
There's no question.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Any highlights that you can recall off the top, Rob, as mayor in your 6 years of service? As
Well,
mayor?
the personal highlight for me has been the growth that I've experienced during the serving. Quite frankly, I didn't know if I had the mentality and the patience to do this job. And that's one of the things that I talked with my wife about before I even ran. Is I said, well, I'd hate to blow my top, or say or do something inappropriate as mayor. I mean, I'm representing the city of Sedona, and I said, I'm going to do my best to be a good representative.
And you have. Interrupting you have done a good job.
Well, thanks, Steve.
You came close a couple of times in some of the meetings where people were a little over the top. But
I did walk out of one meeting, but I didn't lose my cool in the meeting. I chose to leave the meeting instead of, I was approaching getting very angry, and so, that was a choice that I made. It's been a great growth experience for me. I mean, it's been fantastic to be, and a real honor to be the figurehead of Sedona.
Well, while you've been in office, both council and mayor, you've seen the building of 179, rebuilding of 179, the lighting issue, the issue with ADOT about ownership of the highway, just to think of a few off the top of my head.
Well,
smart
also,
meters.
The uptown enhancement,
Right.
all of the stormwater management we've done, all the improvements of the sewering. And the main thing that I'm probably most proud of is that we, through the most difficult economic times that any of us have ever experienced, we have maintained a balanced budget and a strong budget for the city. And I'm proud to say that certainly isn't because of me. It's because of the 5 councils that I've served on, and all of us being on the same page on that particular issue is the budget took first priority. So, all those things, I believe that the face of Sedona has changed more during the 9 years that I've been on council than any other time in the history of Sedona. And I think it's been for the good.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion.
If you were going to pick out one thing as a legacy, at least we're now in March and the election, you're not out of office until next year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
see.
that my last day will probably be the first week in January. I'm not
Okay,
real
okay,
clear in terms of
okay.
exactly what the day
Yeah.
is.
So there's still 8 months, 9 months left to go in this year before you would leave office.
Yeah.
Any legacies that you are working on that you hope to complete, or anything that you have completed that you would
Well,
like
there's a
to?
whole bunch of things. Um, you know, improving the quality of our effluent so that we can take what we've considered to be a liability of our effluent, wasting 1,300,000 gallons of water a day out there at the wastewater plant, and turning that into an asset. We're very far down the road there. Council 2 weeks ago approved creating a land planning committee for about 200 acres that we're going to free up. And I would very much like to serve on that land planning committee and, create a vision for out there. I'd love to see a sustainable park that somehow becomes a revenue generator for the city and also a community benefit.
And you don't have to be an elected official to serve on
No, I
other
can
committees.
serve on the committee.
Yeah.
The cultural park. Last year I got the owner of the cultural park to the table. They are moving forward with a new vision for the park. And they're also working with the Yavapai College to work out the Yavapai College land issues there. We just recently met, and I do believe that probably in the near future, those land issues will be resolved, and then I think that we can move with work with the Yavapai College to develop new programming for them. So that was important. The completion of Barbers Park. That's going to hopefully be done sometime this year, early next year. That's solid. The money's in the bank, and the designs are on the table, and we're ready to move forward. That's a big one. Environmental issues were very important to me, and one of the things that I said early on was I wanted to see Sedona become a model city of sustainability.
Yeah.
The environmental accomplishments that we've made, I think, have been relatively significant. One of the first things that I took on as mayor is developing a public transit system. The Verde Links resulted as a very early conversation that I had to drive that forward. A bicycle-friendly community. I hope to see us as a dark sky-friendly community soon. Green building codes, alternative energy incentives, all those kinds of things are coming down the pike. The development of the Brewer Road property, we're going to close escrow on that this month. And the realization of what's been going on for several decades of a community center or a heart of Sedona will become a reality. So those things aren't going to happen during the next year, but they all have traction. That's what I said. If there was something that was really important to me, that my staying in office might have an influence on that actually moving forward, then that would be a consideration. But I think all of those things have a lot of traction, and I think all of them will come to fruition.
I think your decision to hand the baton to a new party as mayor is really very admirable. You look at Washington, you've got people who've been there in the Senate for how many years? 40 years?
Yeah.
Goodness, there comes a time when you need to step aside, let new people come in, new ideas.
Absolutely.
And it's a very
I think
generous
a lot
thing
of
to
people
do.
get involved in the whole power thing and the being in front of the public all the time and politics, and I've seen it change people dramatically.
It does.
One of the things that I told Christine is I said, if I start doing this for my own ego instead of for the benefit of the community, you need to be monitoring me on that and give me the heads up. And so, she's been really good at letting me know that, she thinks I'm still towing the line there. And so I'd like to step out with some, with my integrity intact and be able to hold my head up high and say I did the best I could, and I hope everybody, feels better off for it.
Well, my last question is there anything more to say? And I think you've just said it. I will add anything that you'd like to add, Rob, before we wrap up for the day?
No, I just want to say to everybody in Sedona that this has been a phenomenal experience for me, and it's been a real honor to serve. And I wouldn't have traded for anything in the world. It's funny when people come up to me and say, I wouldn't do your job I mean, I wouldn't have your job for anything. I made a joke out of it during the economic downturn. I've got the only job that nobody wants. But I just can't say how much how great it's been for me to serve, and how much it's filled me up.
Yeah.
So I step aside feeling, totally filled.
Terrific. Well, Rob, thank you so much. Mr. Mayor, still, thank you so much for coming by the studios today, and we'll just keep moving forward, and we'll move into life.
Well, I'm not going to go to sleep for the next
I
9
know,
months. You can count on that. I'm going to continue to be the mayor full throttle ahead until I step out.
And so you can take your retirement pay from the city and take a trip to Hawaii or something, right?
Yeah, there is none of that, believe me. I don't even have a parking space.
I would think that you would have at least had a parking space.
You'd think.
Nope.
Nope.
You'd think so.
Yep.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you very much.
All right, Steve.
Best of luck.
Always been good. Thanks.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in and hearing what our mayor has to say. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.